Oh yeah, it's all right, and yeah, it's an all right day out there. It's 85 degrees. Hello out there in video land. My guest, Pat Sirianni, town crier, a local student of history. He likes to call himself. I say history expert, but no, he says a local student of history. Thanks for coming in, Pat.
My pleasure.
Pat,
Great to be here again.
Yeah,
I
Pat.
like to come once a month or so, just to shoot the breeze.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun when Pat comes in because he has a lot of knowledge of history in Niagara Falls, and both Pat and I grew up in Niagara Falls, so we know a lot just about the city from being here all our lives and hanging around. And Pat lived downtown, so he was down here all the time in the heyday, much like a lot of the kids of those days were. And my grandmother lived just across the way. I could see her house from over there, and I stayed there a lot with her. And I was downtown a lot, and I worked down here. So, yeah, it was a great place to be when we were kids.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But we're going to talk a little bit about downtown, and Pat's going to give us a little insight into what he thinks maybe can bring us back to the glory days, which personally, Pat, I would love to see.
Oh, yeah, the glory days, we're talking anywhere from about after the war, the Second World War, right up until 72, 73, when they started building malls. Downtown was the place to be. I don't care who you are, where you lived, everybody came downtown.
Where all the lights are bright.
That's right, downtown.
Exactly. Okay, so before we get into that, though, I have to mention my sponsors, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop and Hamilton Glowstone Lighting. Now, we have a hot day out there today. You want to make sure your air conditioning is working in your car. You want to make sure your car is running tip top, because you know what the kids are going to be saying. They've been out a week now. They're going to be saying, "Daddy, we want to go somewhere. We don't want to sit home. We're bored." And you're going to say, "Okay, let's jump in the car and we're going to go to Muskoka or somewhere." And you know what? Your car's going to break down. Guaranteed. Be proactive. Get it to Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop. Let Ken Hunter check it out. Make sure all systems are go. Make sure you're nice and safe with good brakes, and be proactive about it. Don't wait till it breaks down. That's not much fun with kids and your wife nagging you in the car. You want to do it before.
Yeah, you got to watch your red this time of year too. You don't want your car overheating with all this heat.
Oh yeah,
that happens quite often.
Yeah, it's very, very hot out there, and your car will overheat. So take it to Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, and if you get in a fender bender, Wild Bill, well, they got a full body shop there. They're going to fix your car, send it out the door, shiny and new like it came out of the factory. Go see them, Oakwood Drive, Niagara Falls, Ontario. Buy the Kia dealership and tell them Paul from Your City, Your Voice sent you, and everybody's going to be happy, especially Pat, because he won't have to come and rescue you. He's like a super crusader in town here. Anyway, Pat, I was saying that we were both grew up downtown, and we remember the heyday. And we look at it now, and we're just looking across at the Meteor Crater, which was the city market at one time. Correct?
Oh yeah. I remember the city market. My family had a tourist home on River Road, and in the spring, I used to walk up to the market with my aunt. She'd get all her flowers and stuff for the gardens and all that kind of stuff, and I'd have to help her haul them home.
Yeah, fantastic. Those were the good old days. I mean, we really had a ball downtown, and I remember coming down here, and there's so many stores, and all the shopkeepers. They were long-time people here. It wasn't just like they came yesterday and opened a store.
Definitely.
A lot of these guys had owned stores, like their father owned stores, and they took them over. Like Gullians and Fishman there at BJ's, who used to be Ben's Menswear, and Max from Dunn's over here, and Ma Kent.
Sure.
I mean, these were long-time standing, so when you hung around and you got to know people, they knew you all the time. So when you walked down the street, you'd know everybody, and you shopped at most of their stores.
Oh, I was on my way down here, and I was thinking about how hot it was, and of course you get these flashbacks of being a kid on River Road, and being July 4th, the tourist home, my aunt's tourist home, would have been just filled to capacity. It always was before the big motel boom of the mid '60s, and I'd 12 o'clock sharp, I'd hike up to the municipal pool, pay my nickel, and swim for the afternoon, And you walked up there. You got up there, you were all tired and sweaty, but you dove in, you were great.
Yeah.
You come home late in the day, and
that pool was always cold.
Yeah, it sure was.
It was always cold. We used to take swimming lessons, and oh my goodness, you get in there at about like 8 in the morning.
Yeah,
and it's all shaded. If you've ever been down there, it's all shaded, so it's like, it doesn't really warm up with the sun that much. Yeah. And man, you'd dive in there and you'd be shivering when you got out for swimming.
And if I was lucky, I'd always find a pop bottle or two to cash in on the way and get
2
some
cents.
candy.
2 cents. Yeah, when my uncle was, he was at the front door of the municipal.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So we always see him when we went there. Louis Gabrielli was his name.
Okay,
and he lived just on Rosedale there, right? So he was walk over.
Yeah,
there.
Great.
Yeah. And he worked there, right? So it was neat to go see him every once in a while when we went to the municipal, and then we used to go to sign him every once in a while as well. But yeah, that's when downtown was great. And I remember way back when somebody said, well, we're going to go to the Penn Center. And I'm going, the Penn Center? Like, where's that?
Yeah, what's that?
yeah, and St. Catharines. And St. Catharines, weird, because I'd never been to St. Catharines in my whole life. Right? St. Catharines, and you'd go out the Old Stone Road. Now they're used to going through the tunnel while you had to make a right on Town Line Road or whatever that is. And you'd go down, or 58 there, and you go over a lift bridge.
That's right, yep.
And then you go down the hill there, and you'd go to Penn Center, which was basically an outdoor mall. It wasn't indoor; it was just a strip of stores. And you'd go there, and you thought you were 100 miles from your house, but you're like
right,
now,
exactly, yeah.
Now North Niagara Falls was almost at the Penn Center, Northwest Niagara Falls. So it's funny, when your kids, these places, Montrose Road. North of Shizler Road, and that used to be like where the White Pigeon Garage was. That was out in the country.
Farms. Way out in the country.
Yeah, big farms, chicken farms.
Yep.
You go down the QEW, you'd stop at a stoplight on the QEW and make a right.
That's right.
Where the Sam's Montrose was there to get to Montrose Road. Yep. There was stop signs and stoplights on the QEW, if you could imagine how crazy.
Sitting in the back of the car, we'd be counting the cows.
Yeah.
Till you come to the cemetery. That's when you lost all your cows. Start all over again.
So when we look at downtown now and the way it is with these empty lots and blown out buildings and boarded up buildings, and the only way we get rid of these buildings is by homeless setting fire to them in the winter when they're trying to keep warm.
Yeah.
Like, what happened here? Like, we know malls happen, but after that, what happened with downtown Niagara Falls?
I don't know. It's a crying shame, though, Used to be such a popular place, and business was brisk for everybody. People were able to make good livings, and people would come downtown and spend their money, it is what it is, I guess.
Like, when I look at it, I know city council, they've tried a couple of revamps on it, tagging it the Q and building these entrances. I mean, we spent a lot of money on trying to revitalize downtown, but nothing has worked. And you look, and it hasn't got better; it's got worse. And I don't know. I think the will. It's the will. You got to will. You got to want to make your downtown really, really
exactly.
good.
You got to be dedicated to it.
Sure. And I don't see that kind of compulsion with city council to really make it good. Yeah, they put a couple entrances in, and
when I think about downtown, I always think I don't know if you've ever been there up near between Hamilton and Dundas, just before you go up the hill to Ancaster, University Plaza. And what it is, it's a big square plaza with lots of little shops, but all the doors face outside. And outside they have like an 8-foot overhang, so you can go in the winter without trudging through the snow, because it's all kept clean. And they got all these beautiful little shops all the way around. It used to be one of my favorite places. But so maybe, that might be part of a solution downtown, if they put out big overhangs for people to walk and browse from shop to shop. That's just a little bit, but it's going to take a lot more than that.
Yeah, well, I agree with you 100%, because when malls came and they were indoor, of course, indoors are covered. A lot of people said, well, why am I going to go trudge through the snow and everything downtown? And another reason was the free parking.
Yeah.
Which we never really got a grip on parking down here. Now Mayor Diodati wants to charge $35 and you can park for 2 hours on city streets and that kind of thing, right? But my thing is listen, why not just offer it for free? have the same conditions, but forget the $35.
Well,
We pay enough
I
on
think
stuff.
that's a good idea in the off season. I don't think that's a good idea in the summer because of all the visitors.
Well, do we get that many visitors on Queen Street?
Oh, you're just thinking Queen Street.
Yeah.
Well, I thought you were thinking citywide. Okay.
Well, citywide.
$35 to park on Queen Street? Give me $35 and I'll park there.
Well, it's the season. It's the season pass for it. But the idea is to give locals a break. So if you want to go to Yanks and have pizza and wings and support Yanks Bar, the old Niagara Tavern that we know it as, right? You could go there and you won't have to pay $10 to park with these lots or pay in a city lot. You can't park in the city lot. You still have to park on the street. But at least it gives the taxpayers a break,
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, why jimmy us for no pun intended, but why jimmy us for $35? Why not just say, hey, anybody who wants one of these passes, it's free. Or when you get your tax bill, it comes with your tax bill.
Yeah.
If you want to use it, use it. Like why? I just don't.
I have a problem with that. Like around the center, there's that hamburger joint that I was in once, and I wanted to go back, but where am I parking? And that little pizzeria just past the center. I wanted to go in there for pizza. Where am I parking? Or like you say, Yanks or the Chinese restaurant, Chinese food restaurant. Is it still there on Center Street?
New Yorker's still there.
Like any of those places, you got to pay a fortune to park down there.
Yeah, and if you can find any parking, a lot of times, like in the summer, those lots are full. You want to go to Yanks or something or Antica, and you can't.
But I believe the cities, if they want to revitalize downtown, they have to go all out. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
You got to run a monorail down along Palmer Avenue. Stops at the new casino, stops at the Skylon, stops atop of Clifton Hill, comes right downtown, beautiful downtown Niagara Falls. Welcome the visitors. And I'm not finished. It ends at the MCR Bridge. You build on that bridge. You cut off the American side. Keep the Canadian side right to the middle of the border. Put nice restaurants up there because you can view the falls from a distance. See part of it anyway. It's lovely scenery. And then it can turn around and go back upriver to as far as the Skylon or wherever, up the Falls View. Well, and like a monorail, going back and forth, back and forth.
That's a great ante, and I'm gonna raise you something. I'm gonna raise you taking the track from the end of Queen Street, running it right down the old Park Street rail line.
Oh
right to the Kimberly-Clark building, where they're going to build a terminal, and that's where people come down Thoroldstone Road, the extension. They park there. They jump on the monorail, come right downtown where there's a station there, and you can have the shops along that bridge like you're talking about if you want. And then it continues to Bender Hill, to Clifton Hill, and all the way to Falls View.
And to add insult to injury, because we are supposedly a city of lights, do like they did in downtown Las Vegas. They build that dome with all those lights. We do that right along Queen Street with music. You could attract millions of people down here.
Well, see, this is what I'm saying, and I said this on my show the other day. I said we have, within 2 miles, say, we have 12 million people.
Yeah.
All we have to do is figure out how to make them come from Clifton Hill and Murray Hill and the casinos 1 mile down the road to Queen Street.
Yep.
We've got it. How do we get them here? And it's ideas like that, the monorail, because I've been talking about a monorail for 10 years.
Yeah.
Running from the old Kimberly-Clark. That's where the station is. And it goes right down Clifton Hill. Think of this. All those kids that work down Clifton Hill, and they got to walk up the hill because you can't get to it in the summer, and go down those dark back streets and that. They just jump on the monorail and go right to the terminal. Their parents pick them up there. Yep. Nice and safe, an easy ride, all lit up, cameras and everything. I mean, I'm telling you, and people would ride this for an attraction. And if we go with your idea along that rail corridor out on the bridge, where they stop it at the Canadian border and they have little shops, and maybe food trucks, and you can see the falls from there. And oh man, what a great idea that is! And that's what it takes to be able to turn this area down here. Now, it's not going to be 10 or 15,000 immigrant students. And we talked about that last week on Finally Friday with Mike Lucid, the real scam behind that. It's not going to take that. It's not going to take that. It's going to take a concerted effort from our city council, the provincial government, and even the federal government to make this what it truly can be. And a monorail is my great idea, and I love to see Queen Street covered with those lights and those the ceiling, being all kinds of stars and clouds and everything.
Sure,
Like people go downtown to Vegas now just to see that.
Yeah, of course they do.
And of course, what happens when you get people? Then you get more businesses, you get hotels, you get stores.
You can open up little specialty shops and all kinds of things.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and this is what it's going to take. It's going to take, futuristic thinking. It's going to be vision that makes it. And, people say you don't have vision. But you know what? Vision is great to have. But if you're not willing to back it up with money and action, what is it, Pat?
Exactly.
Something like that.
Exactly.
We have to change our mindset about downtown. We have to make it an attraction. Just that rivals Clifton Hill, to be honest with you.
Yep,
because there's lots of room for hotels down here.
Sure.
And everything else that goes with tourism. I mean, we are a tourist town. We put our cards on the table, all into tourism. Let's do it. And I mean, you got to spend money to make money.
Well, maybe one day I'll be the mayor of the city, or maybe even the Prime Minister of Canada. What I'd like to tell you about is my protest against the federal government.
Okay.
I have made arrangements in July. I am going out to Navy Island. I have William Lyon Mackenzie's Patriot flag, and I'm claiming the new Republic of Canada, like he did in 1837 in his quest to end what they called the Family Compact, where favoritism was shown throughout the government. And he fought for and planted the seeds for responsible government, which actually came about. But we've been full circle with this so-called responsible government. They're not responsible anymore. So I'm going to claim Navy Island, the new Republic of Canada. I'm going to be its first Prime Minister.
First Italian Prime Minister.
Italian and Irish. I'll invite the Fenians.
Exactly. Now,
and that's what it's going to be.
Now, is Navy
Island, watch for that. We'll probably make a TikTok out of it.
Yeah,
it's just a protest thing.
Is Navy Island all in?
It's Canadian. It's Canadian,
right? Okay.
Yeah.
So you can do that. Now, it would be really great if you were like in a boat going across the Navy Island with your town crier outfit on, standing up with 1 foot up on the front of the boat and a sword.
I thought about that.
And a sword. And then you lay down the sword like this, and you touch the ground. I proclaim this the new Republic of Canada.
Well, yeah, all in the interest of hopefully waking some spirits. I know William Lyon Mackenzie will be awake for that, spiritually speaking. And I hope he'll be happy.
Well, I think he'd love it. I think it would be awesome. He would love the spirit that you do that in, because that's what he did.
Yeah, exactly.
He lived on Navy Island for a while, didn't he?
After they chased him around throughout Canada and the United States, he had a lot of people protecting him in Canada because a lot of people believed in what he was saying. And he ended up exiled to the States, and eventually he spent a year in jail there for trying to promote some kind of a discourse between the two countries, which were now at peace after the War of 1812. So he served a year in jail. He got out. He got a pardon, came back to Canada, and believe it or not, ended up as the first mayor of the city of Toronto.
There you go.
Yeah, but constantly fought, planted those seeds for responsible government. And like I said, responsible government, as far as I'm concerned, has gone full circle. We need something different. Somebody with new ideas, and that fella is me on my Navy Island.
William Lyon Sirianni.
Oh, God.
Well, we have Lyon Trudeau right now, so I mean, but it's spelled a little bit different.
Yeah, Lyon Trudeau.
Yeah, we have Justin Lyon Trudeau, so he adopted one of the names, but it's spelled like a little bit different than
I think so.
Lyon Mackenzie.
Anyway, that's going to be my protest. I hope it all takes off. We're scheduled to meet a buddy up in the Upper River. He lives on the Parkway. He's got a boat. And a couple of weeks ago, I asked him to take me to Navy Island, and he's actually making me the sign to do this. And so hopefully we'll film it, get it on TikTok, and see what happens.
That is going to be hilarious. And yeah, I wonder if you can really do that, though. I wonder if you could just claim Navy Island.
But, you know, I don't want to get too political, but I look at the homeless situation in the country, and the money they send to Ukraine. And I got nothing against Ukrainian people, believe me, but what I think they should be doing is spending the money in Canada first. Take care of our people. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing is like, it's great that we help other people. We're a nation that does that. But when you have the big problem that we have of homeless in Canada and people not having enough food and that
the
kind
addictions
of thing,
and things like that.
I mean, we have to take care of our own first. I read a really good line, and it said, if you have enough money to send to other people in other lands, then you're paying too much in taxes. Right? You shouldn't have an extra money left over. You should spend it within your country first.
Exactly.
And then if you've taken care of your problems, and if you have any left over, help other countries.
Then you help the others, yeah.
But if you have money to send away, billions of dollars to send away to other countries, then you're being taxed too high.
Yep.
Right? You got that much money left over. But sometimes they're just borrowing money, like we're $1.5 trillion in debt now, the country. So we'll see. But I think little boy Blunder is done. I think he's out next.
Yeah,
next
well,
time
I think
he
so
runs.
too. But what are we getting in return?
That's the problem. That's the problem. You get the same thing. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah. So,
well, I've been pretty busy.
What's going on
since about the 1st of June? Tonight, for instance, the Niagara Parks Commission they're commemorating the Battle of Chippewa.
All right.
Up in the Niagara Upper River opposite Slater Park. That's an annual event that I like to attend. I'll be going there. Every Thursday night, I've been working at Blues in the Park. We had over 300 people last night. That's always a big success. We got the Filipino Festival coming, Fireman's Park, first weekend of August.
Oh, go to that. That's fun.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. Great. Those people are great people. They're so happy and friendly and smiling. It's always a good time.
Yeah, they're great.
And then right near the end of the month, another great group, in late August, the Irish Festival.
Oh, wow. That's
both these festivals are 2 days. July 25th, we commemorate with the Lundy's Lane Historical Society the Battle of Lundy's Lane. That commemoration is going on since 1878, and when the Lundy's Lane Historical Society was first incorporated. And we are, the society, the second oldest historical association in Upper Canada.
Wow.
So, yeah. Then September, at the Exchange, there's the annual Night of Art. And there's an art contest. You can enter your artwork, win a nice prize, cash prizes. And then also, I already spoke about my protest. A quick little history story for you. I got a couple of guys I know that are working down at the train station.
Okay.
What they're doing, they're on the inside. They're remodeling it because they're going to redo the whole place. However, the outside is going to remain the same. All the old windows, all the brickwork. So they got a lot of parging to do in the brickwork and things like that. They invited me to come in and have a look. So I went in and I was looking around, and there's a center of the room. There's a wooden pillar. Goes up maybe 8-10 feet. And then atop that, when they tore out the newer ceiling, they found it's made of cast iron. It's a big, huge floral design thing at the top. And I researched it, and I found out that at one time, the whole pillar and everything was that. So they're going to try and save that. And then I saw remnants in the ceiling of a fire they had there in 1879. The brickwork was all from a company in Michigan. And they stopped making that brick in 1910 because when the First World War started, they needed the coal for other things. So they just kind of gave it up. So it's got some very old brickwork that they're going to restore. And I'm in the process of researching it. There's some interesting stories behind it. And it's very difficult to research because the information is so limited. But it'll take me a while, but I'll get to it. And I'll sure to bring it all here for you.
Yeah. How old is that train station?
Oh, the first one was built right after they built the first bridge.
Oh, wow.
About 1858, 1857. And then they said it caught fire, and they built a newer one. But my thing is, from what I can find out, the fire wasn't very serious, and it actually occurred while they were building a newer one. So I don't know the extremities of that fire. They built that, and then in the 1920s, they remodeled it again, and it's been remodeled a couple of times. But they've always kept what they have of the building on the outside pretty much original, and they're going to keep going with that.
And the hotels and everything else that are across the street.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's when they started too, when the train station opened.
Exactly. Like, for instance, that old building that used to house, I think it was the Lord Nelson.
Yeah, okay.
That building was an actual theater.
Oh,
according to Sherman Zavitz. It wasn't a hotel at first. So it was an actual theater.
Yeah, the old Pussy Willow Inn, it was called for a while.
And no, Pussy Willow's on the corner.
Okay, where's Lord Nelson?
Well, a couple of doors down.
Oops. Okay. Was it like where the Royal was, or
wait a minute? Maybe it was the Empire Hotel.
Yeah, the Empire.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, that's what that is. Lord Nelson, but there was a Lord Nelson.
Yeah, you know what? That hotel
maybe it was
on
the
corner
same building.
Had so many names.
Yeah, I know.
I remember it being the Mohawk. Yeah, then the Lord Nelson.
Pussy Willow.
Then the Pussy Willow Inn, then Europa or something.
Europa,
like that.
yes. But I mean, that's my biggest beef with the train station. They're going to spend all this money on the train station. People are going to get off, and this is what they see across the street.
Like, well, that's all going to be improved.
It's got to be.
I'm sure.
It's got to be. It's only a natural that if you're going to have GO trains coming in and bringing hundreds of people, and I'll tell you one thing. I sat here on Eclipse Day, and I counted at least a dozen WeGo buses, the double ones, and they were loaded. You couldn't get another person on, wall to wall. And if they hold 50 or 60 people each, you're looking at 700, 800 people that they were hauling down to the falls to see this eclipse. I mean, can you imagine that, like, every day? And and they need, when they get off the train, they need to buy water, they need to buy,
and they need sense of direction.
They may want to stay for a couple of days. They need sense of direction. They need a transportation. You know, so I mean, this all falls hand in hand. But you're not going to do it while you have these decrepit buildings. They got to be knocked down and some new things put up, especially like a nice hotel with the bottom floor being commercial space.
Yep, sure. Yeah.
And that kind of thing, and people will stay. And the train's right there. They come from Toronto, get a room right there.
Yep, sure.
And then your monorail, they jump right on it. And
exactly, where you go.
And I love the thought of a monorail because it's elevated. So you're not blocking streets.
Yep.
You're not blocking Clifton Hill like that old train, Bender Hill. You're not blocking anything. You're going overhead. And you're going right to where you want to go. It would be an attraction on its own.
For sure. Especially double deck if it got up in the falls view.
Oh, it'd be beautiful.
You see the falls from...
and once you start working it out, I mean, it's nothing to put a line that goes off down the middle of Lundy's Lane and goes out to Garner Road. Or it takes another shot off of Thoroldstone and continues out down Thoroldstone to St. Catharines. I mean, you can do anything with it. An elevated system does not block traffic or cause any trouble. I mean, it's expensive. I looked into it, I looked into it at one time. I contacted some companies that do this, and it was way back when. I mean, I did this a long time ago, but it was like, $1 or $2 million a mile.
Wow.
To build it. Like, by the time you get your supports and your structure and all the power and everything else it takes, right? But, you think about it. What is it? How far do you think it is from the Kimberly Clark building down Park Street, down the line to the falls? 5 miles?
Oh, not that much, but yeah. Okay.
Say it's 5 miles. Say the price has gone up to $5 million a mile now. That's $25 million bucks. So when the city does it, it's double, so $50 million. But man, what a thing that would be. Can you imagine?
Exactly.
They have them all over. Even Toronto Airport has a monorail that runs from downtown to the airport.
And Hamilton's putting in their monorail.
Yeah, they're putting in their fast transit there, quick, whatever it's called there, LRT, rapid transit.
Funny about that, because I remember when I was working up there in 1989, the government came to Hamilton and said, we want to build a monorail system. And the city of Hamilton said, thanks, but no thanks. And so they took it to Vancouver. Yeah. And here we are, so many years later. Yeah, we could use one now.
well, you probably remember that car that sat right at the end of Oaks Drive there, right behind the Seagram's Tower, on the other side of the
train tracks.
it used to be sitting there with a couple cars, and they built that as a demonstration type of thing, how it would look.
Yeah, yeah.
And it sat there for a long time. It's not there now, I don't think.
No, I haven't seen it.
No, but that's what they were thinking of it. It's going to go right by the Skyline. This is before the casino and all that was there.
Yep.
Right by the Skyline, out to Marineland, then by the Skyline. I'm straight down through the Skyline there, through the property beside the Skyline, the railway track they took out, and then straight down over Clifton Hill, Bender Hill, and straight down to the bridge, this bridge down here. But you could have a station there and work your idea in with it. This is the kind of thinking you need if you want to revitalize downtown. And before we do anything, we got to take care of these fields like across the street. We got to make them better, put something on them. We got to get the vagrancy off the streets here and move them somewhere else. I don't care what they do with them. Just make sure they're not on Queen Street. And then you've got to take down these dilapidated buildings. So when people get off that train, they look and they say, "What a beautiful place."
Yep.
Like with directions where to go and how to get there.
Yep. Make it all simple.
I mean, even if they just took that parking lot where the old bus terminal used to be and put a tourist information center there, how nice would that be?
Exactly.
You can go in there and find out this, that, packages for the Parks Commission.
Yeah.
Everything right there. So when they get off, they got somewhere to go, even if they have vending machines for water and stuff.
Yep.
A guy just over here on Park Street was giving out water on the eclipse day. People were walking off the thing and walking to the park, and it was hot. And he had a stand for water. He was just giving it out. People were stopping and getting a water, right? And I thought that was fantastic of the guy.
Yeah.
So it'll work. It can work down here. We just need city council to buy into it and set aside money to do something. And then go to the provincial government and say, "Here's our big plan." You got to present it to them. And it's all about money. If it's going to generate money, they'll do it.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's there for everybody. Let me get to my second sponsor, and then we're going to talk about July 4th, what happened on July 4th in Niagara Falls a lot of years ago, 70, 80, 90 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And come through that in a second.
Okay.
So my second sponsor, Hamilton Glowstone Lighting. If you've ever been through a neighborhood at night, you've seen a house that's lit up, and you go, "Wow, that looks spectacular." It's probably Hamilton Glowstone Lighting. They are the leaders in permanent outdoor track lighting. These people who have these houses, you think they get up and down ladders to put up Christmas lights? No. They have permanent lights. They're made in zones. They get out their phone and they say red and green for Christmas.
Wow.
And it turns red and green. Red and white for Canada Day, it turns red and white. If they want St. Patrick's Day for you Irish people, like Patrick Sirianni.
Mediterranean Irishman.
You turn it green. Halloween, orange. If you love Prince, you turn it purple for his birthday. It doesn't matter. A million different colors. And they're all sealed. They're all soldered, sealed against dirt, against rain, against moisture. You don't have to worry about them. 10-year warranty, LED lights. So it's cheap on your pocketbook. You're not going to be spending a fortune to light your house up. It makes your house worth more money. It makes it safer because all your pathways and that are lit up. And at the end of the day, if you want to Griswold your house, Pat, I mean, you want to really go to town like Christmas vacation. You can get financing to do it. You can spend as much as you like. You don't have the cash, they'll finance it for you. Now, what you want to do is call Colin Buckborough. He is the guy who runs Hamilton Glowstone Lighting. His number is 289-969-1797. He's going to come down. He's going to give you a free estimate, and then he'll be there to do the work. And fantastic. Or if you want to just see kind of what it looks like, go to glowstonelighting.com. That's glowstonelighting.com. And you can see the gallery there of all the beautiful houses that they've done. So, yeah, give Colin a call. Tell him Paul from Your City, Your Voice sent you. I'll give you that number again. It's 289-969-1797. Thank you very much for supporting our sponsors. So, here we go. Something happened on July 4th in 1928, Pat. I'm going to let you guess what happened.
28?
1928, July 4th.
July 4th. Jean Lessier?
Correct.
Went over the falls in that big rubber ball.
Yeah. barrel right over the falls in a 6-foot in diameter rubber ball, and he survived the trip.
Oh yeah.
And that was unusual because back then they used barrels.
They used barrels. Annie Taylor in a wooden barrel, and then Bobby Leach in the steel barrel, and Jean Lessier. He had some rubber connections. And
was that?
It was like 7 different layers of rubber with metal straps in between them and stuff. And he had his own oxygen tank in there and all kinds of weird and wonderful things. But yes, it was successful, and there was a huge crowd on hand to watch that. And then when he got over the falls and popped to the surface, of course, his good friend, Red Hill Sr., they were like brothers. I got old photographs of him and Red Hill standing in the park, arm in arm, looking at the camera, leaning on the car. Anyway, the Red Hill Sr. went out, rescued him, got him to shore on the Canadian side, and then Jean Lessier was swept away, put on top of a car, paraded through town to the Honeymoon Bridge, across the bridge to the American side. People were gathered everywhere, waving and clapping and cheering for him. And he went to a little hotel, I think it was on Main Street, Niagara Falls, New York. And he stepped off, and a woman jumped out and gave him a big kiss. Days later, he said, "Who was that woman that jumped out here and gave me that?" "That was my sister," he said. His whole family was there for the big event. They tried to keep it secret because it basically was against the law to be doing stuff like that. But not such a secret when you got thousands of people there watching you. So yeah.
It must have been exciting to for people who were there to see this big rubber ball
come over the falls,
going over the falls, and he was one of the ones that lived to talk about it. I think he died in like the 70s.
I think the late 70s. But he, I was in Nova Scotia, in I think it was the Pictou area. But anyway, I was in this little bookshop, secondhand store, and I found a postcard, autographed by Jean Lessier. But I wasn't sure if the autograph was real, but I don't know, it cost me $6 or $7, so I bought it. I took it home and I researched it, and it was an actual autograph picture of him, his barrel coming over the falls, a smaller picture of him standing there with his arms crossed, and his autograph. So I still got it.
That's unbelievable. You found that in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, of all places.
Of all places. Yeah, you know, it's really funny when you talk about memorabilia from Niagara Falls. You get on eBay or something, right? And you see a lot of stuff from Niagara Falls. Yeah. I've seen yearbooks from CI.
Wow.
I've seen the card. It's more like a little flyer they made, because every year we had a football game at Oaks Park against CI.
Oh yeah, CI Stanford.
Yeah, it was a Thanksgiving weekend, or it was something like that. And it was like a big deal. I mean, these two schools were rivals. They'd come to Stanford to paint our wall, CI colors. Yeah, and we'd all be out there painting it back to orange and black, and then we'd go down and paint the bell in front of CI. It was like a big deal. So we had this football game. It was just an unbelievable time, and they actually printed a little flyer with all the players.
Wow, that's great!
And they had sponsors like from everywhere, like Hetherington and Dean's, and all these businesses we talked about on Queen Street.
Yeah, sure. They also
Dobie's Florist and Gullions and everybody, right? And it was an amazing day, and you'd go down there, but it wasn't like today. There was the CI guys and the Stanford guys, and most of us knew each other anyway.
Yeah.
So I went to school at St. Mary's, and I knew a lot of people from CI. So when we went to these games, all the Stanford guys, like from the other end of town, would be, CI.
Yeah.
And I'd be over there talking with everybody because I knew them all.
Yeah.
But what a fun day for everybody. It was exciting, and whoever won, were heroes.
Yeah, exactly.
It was such a big rivalry. And those days are long gone, I know. Now, if they had that, there'd be stabbings and shootings.
Yeah, you'd always get some punks now.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun back in those days when, just hanging around town and that.
Yeah, I hear you.
So when you have a guy like Lucier drawing huge crowds down the park, well, you could do it then.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these guys, I've noticed one thing, and we're going to talk about the other ones that went over in July, because there was a bunch of guys who went over in July, including A guy named on July 5th, George Stathakis.
Strathakis. Strathakis. He was a Greek.
Yes, a Greek immigrant
lived in Buffalo.
Yes,
as a cook. He wrote a book because he believed he was the master of the universe, had been alive forever, and lived at the North Pole. No, he believed he was serious. This is dead serious stuff. Now, don't make fun of the guy. I mean, he went over Niagara Falls. Well, when he went over the falls in his barrel, he did not live. His barrel got trapped for 20 hours. Red Sr. waited and waited and waited. Finally, it came to the surface. He went out, pulled it out from underneath, got at the shore. They opened it up. He had suffocated to death. However, when he went over the falls, he took his pet turtle. His pet turtle was still alive. So Red Hill Sr. adopted him, the turtle, called him Sonny Boy, and he had like a little souvenir shop museum set up. Charge you a dime to come look at him.
Yeah, and you know what? The rumor was the turtle was 150 years old.
Yeah. And then the turtle eventually died. I think he had it stuffed or something like that. And then somebody stole the thing.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Jeez, you'd think it was 2024.
So much for George Strathakis.
But now his barrel, like they talked about his barrel getting stuck behind the falls. It was 10 feet long, 5 feet in diameter, and Red Hill Sr. told him the barrel was too big and heavy, weighing in at over a ton.
Yeah.
And he said that weight and size, it was meant to protect him and Sonny, his turtle. But he thought Red Hill that it contributed to him getting stuck behind the falls and led to his death. He ran out of oxygen. You know, so what a crazy one that was.
Oh, yeah, for
with
sure.
That giant barrel, you know, like, and then you know, July was a big month in those days, and
sure.
Bobby Leach went over on July 25th, 1911. Charles Stevens on July 11th, 1920.
Whoa. Stop there, Charles Stevens.
Charles Stevens.
He was a barber from Bristol, England. Big family, lots of kids. He had written a letter previously to, I think it was Richard Carter, who was captain of the Maid of the Mist, wanting to know how to go about going over the falls. Of course, Carter never responded to him, neither did the mayor. But anyway, he showed up here with a barrel, and he hired the services of Bobby Leach and Red Sr. They went out to the upper river to the predestined spot where they're going to drop in the water. Bobby Leach took one look at the barrel, turned around and walked away. He said, I want nothing to do with this. Because it wasn't secured properly. The metal stabs that go around it were all askew and weren't tight and stuff. And sure enough, he went over the falls, and when they recovered his barrel, all that remained in the barrel were one of his arms.
Wow.
That's the story I was told anyway.
Disintegrated.
But he had, as I said, he had written. And then after, I think it was in the 30s, all at once, the mayor of Niagara Falls, New York, and Niagara Falls, Canada, were getting letters from people all around the world wanting to come to Niagara Falls to do a barrel stunt. One woman in Michigan, there was a guy in upstate New York someplace, and the guy in upstate New York said he was going to make a raft with barrels underneath all tied together, tie himself down to the top of the raft and go over. Of course, they never showed up, but yeah, it's crazy. So it was so bad, they had to put out a statement. Do not come to Niagara Falls, perform daredevil stunt. You will be charged to the fullest extent of the law. They had to put that out there because all these, I guess you call them wackos. But you know who we forgot was that Italian girl in the 1880s, 1870s? You know, the one with the peach baskets?
Yeah, walking across the tightrope.
Yeah, she did that, it was scheduled for July 4th, but she had to put it off for a week because it did nothing but rain and wind for a whole week.
So she was going to walk on July 4th.
She was here for July 4th. There's going to be big crowds, both Canadian and American. I think the holiday fell on the weekend, like the Monday and the Friday type thing, and she had it all planned, and the weather was a complete disaster. But she waited her week, and then did several stunts back and forth.
Now, Nathan Boya, he went over July 15th in 19, I think 20.
60? No. Nathan?
Yeah, 1960. And Carol Suchek went over July 2nd, 1984.
Carol Suchek. I can tell you a story about him. I was working at the Oaks, sightseeing, working with Brian Harvey. Used to run the tours out of there. And that afternoon, we were hanging around, and all of a sudden, this van comes pulled in. Carol Suchek steps out of the van, got this big bandage around his head, and there's press people there chasing him and talking to him. And this young girl who had been on my tour that day, she come out of the lobby, and she said hi to me. I said, I got to tell you something. You see that guy standing right there? Yeah, I said, he just went over Niagara Falls in a barrel. She said, no way. I said, yeah, look, the press is there, blah, blah, blah. Go get his autograph. So she did.
Yeah, right on.
A real souvenir of Niagara. But yeah, I remember Carol Suchek. He was a pretty nice guy, you know. He did his press thing there, and he was going to start promoting some new kind of men's sportswear or something, and then he died at the Houston Astrodome trying to duplicate his feat at Niagara Falls by dropping from a height into a big garbage container filled with water, and the barrel kind of slipped a little, missed, and he hit the side of it and killed himself.
Yeah, I remember that. The Houston Astrodome that happened at.
Wow.
But you know what? One thing I noticed there, and I could be just overthinking this, but I noticed in modern times there are not too many people who went over in July. And I think it's because as we have technology in that they would never be able to do it. They would be seen on camera.
Oh yeah, that's like Dave Monday.
Yeah,
of his first attempt to go over the falls. Guy at the control dam saw him bobbing down the river, divert the water. He got stranded in the rock.
Yeah, there you go. And today, especially with all the cameras and that, like if they tried to do it in the middle of the tourist season like that, like in the old days, they could sneak in and get it done.
But you got to consider too the water level. They're taking like 50-60% of the water before it reaches the brink of the falls. So what chances do you have?
You have the barrel getting to the edge.
And then on the other hand, I'm talking to Michael Clarkson, who's quite knowledgeable in this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to figure out, because there have been a couple of people that have fallen over the falls and lived. There seems to be one spot close to the Canadian side. You fall in, and you survive. And so, there have been a couple of them.
Yeah, that one guy did it, and they figured he was trying to commit suicide, but he said he wasn't.
Yeah.
He said he wasn't. He just wanted to go over the falls without a barrel, I guess.
Wow,
I don't know.
That's crazy.
I think he was trying to commit suicide because he didn't want to admit it, maybe, because they put him in the psycho ward.
And we remember, of course, as the young kids, Roger Woodward. I remember there was a hot day like today. Yeah. Newspaper came to my house. I was sitting in the driveway on the asphalt reading the story. I was about 6 or 7 years old.
I lived right across from the hospital then.
Oh, God, it must have been nuts.
It was crazy. They had him on a stretcher and taking him in.
Yeah.
And in those days, the emergency was in the front door.
Sure, yep.
It wasn't where it is now.
Yeah.
And I remember him when we were kids, and I was maybe only, 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah.
Was very young, before 1960 for sure. When did he go?
No, I think it was 61.
Was it 61?
I think so, or 1960.
It was.
Because I was old enough to read.
Maybe the summer of 60.
Yeah, it might have been.
Because I remember it, and like when I first lived on Portage Road there, it was Poplar Park. It wasn't even a hospital.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they built a hospital in around 1959.
Yeah, 58, 59, they built a hospital, yeah.
It opened, and then he came in, and I remember the crowd around it, the press and everybody wheeling these guys into the hospital, right? And yeah, the kid went over the falls in a life jacket and lived.
The other miracle about that was his sister being saved by that cop in New Jersey. Literally reached over the railing and pulled her out by her hair.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Right at the brink. Can you imagine that?
Unbelievable. Like, as much as people say you can't go over and live, a lot of people have gone over and lived. And what's his name there? Bernardi.
Oh, Peter DiBernardi, yeah.
DiBernardi and Jeff, what was his name?
Trache?
Petkovich.
Oh, yeah, him and Jeff.
They went over together in the tandem, and so did a couple of people from Florida. They went over in a
barrel. Yeah, that was Trache or Trotter or whatever.
And his girlfriend or whatever. And yeah, so I mean, people do go over and live, but a lot of them, like one guy tried on a jet ski. Well, he didn't make it.
Yeah, that was Jesse Sharp.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
I give him a middle name, Jesse Not So Sharp.
And also, I think there was a guy who tried it in a kayak.
Yeah. Well, one of them was Jesse, and the other one was I don't know who. But what about that latest one? That guy that went over that big plastic ball with his boa constrictor. That was a few years ago. He had this big plastic ball. He went over the falls, brought his pet boa constrictor. He died. They could never find the boa constrictor.
Probably down the gorge.
And I used to tell everybody that story. That say, if you're in the park, walk softly, carry a big stick.
You might see a boa.
But anyway, that guy, he talked to Tim at the historic Oakwood Cemetery on the American side. Well, Tim's retired now, but they're putting in an effort to, because nobody claimed the body. They were putting in an effort, and it was going to go through where they would get his ashes or claim his body and then bury it with the other daredevils at Daredevil Road.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? We haven't had anybody make a try to go over the falls in a lot of years now. I can't remember the last guy who tried to go over.
Well, I have an announcement to make, and I'm going to make it here.
You're going to go to Navy Island?
The first in the whole world to hear this. I'm not going to do it.
I'm going to Navy Island to claim it.
I'm going to Navy Island.
And then I'm headed down to Youngstown and Niagara on the Lake via the river.
CSIS will be waiting for me on Navy Island and throw me in the water on the end of the island, and I'll be over the falls.
But I just think today it's really, really tough to be able to do this. And that's why you see a lot of guys going in October and that, towards the fall. It's too cold in May. April and May, and then you get through the summer, it's too busy. You really couldn't pull it off now.
Yeah.
I mean, the Parks Police, they see a truck going down with a tarp down the parkway. Right away. That's going to be stopped.
Quick story. Peter DiBernardi. He has a little barrel he uses as a demo. And he had it stashed here in Victoria Avenue in somebody's garage. Michael Clarkson was doing a Red Hill talk at the library in Fort Erie. So Peter says to me, Pat, you got a truck? Yes. That barrel will fit in the back of your truck. You haul up to Fort Erie for Michael's talk. Well, I like Michael, I like Peter too. So I said, okay. So we get down there, we load it up. We're going down the park. We get out by the barge. And he said, let's take some pictures. With the barge in the background. So I turned around, the park, like right on the road, and Peter's climbing up on the barrel like this. This old lady goes by driving this van. She slows right down and she's looking at it. I think she thought we were going to unload the van and throw it in the river. So we get back in the thing, we turn around, we're going up the parkway towards Chippewa. I don't know, for some reason, Niagara Parks Police are flying, coming the other way.
Looking for you.
I think so.
I think so too.
So that was fun.
Yeah, you don't get away with much down there, especially with cameras and everything else these days. You'd have to really pull a fast one to be able to do it. Maybe in the fall, maybe it's not as busy and everything else. You might be able
Actually, I think it would be a lot easier to achieve on the American side if you're quick enough. Up by Port Day.
And get it out in the middle of the river?
Where the intake is for the power over there, like like a little bit of a river there. Port Day, yeah, you could probably get in up there, but
you'd have to tow it out to the middle of the river.
Well, yeah, because you don't want to go over the
American Falls.
The American Falls.
Wow, you better have a big rubber ball.
You got to hit that Canadian channel. Yeah, you can come hell or high water
for sure. You need a little electric motor on your barrel just in case to get you into the Canadian current. Yeah, if they had a ball going over the American Falls, it'd probably bounce right up on into the Skyline Tower. Because it's not very nice that falls there. We saw what it was like when they dried it out in 1962 or something. 69, yeah.
And I found a photo of that, and it was taken at such an angle. You're looking directly at the American Falls, and on the one rock face was the full face of a Native American with the headdress and everything, like eroded in the rock. That was so cool. I could never find that picture again.
Yeah, really. Wow.
It was awesome.
Yeah, that was something to see. I remember my dad did work at the Sheraton, and we went up to the top of the Sheraton, and we, where you look down on it, and you could see it. And at that time, there's all these renderings that came out of it being all the rocks taken away and making like steps at the bottom, and all kinds of weird things to shore it up in that, because the rocks were falling, and it was there had to be maybe 50 feet halfway up the falls of rock and stuff, just from collapses of the rock, because it does collapse.
And according to the newspaper, when they heard, people around North America heard that was happening, a lot of conventions were canceling coming to Niagara, because they thought Niagara Falls going to be dry. They thought it meant like the whole thing. Yeah, so they had to straighten that out. They did lose a little business, but traffic was crazy once people realized exactly what was going to happen.
Big event. So I wonder if we're going to see anybody this July go over the falls in a barrel. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
It's just too much these days.
And if they do, you won't hear about it till it's done. And those that get to see it will just happen to be down there. It wouldn't be like anything advertised with the crowds and everybody hanging off the bridges to watch.
But they never get
anything
over
like that. Yeah.
No, they wouldn't get over. I mean, there's just too much today of Big Brother watching you. They know everything you do. They know where you're going. Like you say, your truck there. People are watching. They'd be calling in on their cell phones. But back in 1928, you could go down there with the truck and nobody probably would bother you, and back it up and nobody would bother you. There was nobody down there, and do your thing, and nobody's going to bug you about it, right? But not these days.
No.
Can't do it. Those fun days of going over the falls in the barrel. And people ask about the barrel over the falls, and I said, "Oh yeah, well, now it's no big deal. There's barrel rides." Yeah, I said, it's like you see those bungee things. Well, they send you over with a bungee on a barrel. You go down over the falls, you drop, and then it pulls you back up, and they grab you and bring you in. Like people believe that. They believe that.
Wow.
Well, I mean, they don't know, right? They don't know. They think that going over is a trip. I mean, they should have an adventure ride like that. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, but then you're destroying the beauty of falls by doing something like that.
You're also destroying the legend. I mean, people who went over the falls.
You're destroying the legend too. Yeah.
It's a legend. They're legendary. These people. Everybody talks about them. Everybody knows about them around here, especially, right?
Yeah.
So if you could do it every day, then.
Yeah, then it becomes nothing.
What's the big deal? Like this. You got to have that risk. You got to have that daredevil risk. Like
exactly the risk factor.
Yeah, like even we'll end up walking over with the tether on. Well, there's no chance of him falling off and getting killed. So
on Niagara History and Trivia, I called Melinda out on that because I went over to the American side, had a look. They got a piece of his cable there. It's 2.5, 3 inches thick. And then I made a statement. I said, well, Melinda's cable is this thick. I said, when Stephen Pierre went across, his cable was 3/4 of an inch. Melinda answered me.
No way.
Yep. He said, the reason why his cable was so thick, because he did not have all the moorings with wire to hold it steady like what's his name did. So you know what I did? I did the right thing. I apologized. I said, Mr. Melinda, I'm sorry, but I did not have that knowledge, and I sincerely apologize. Apology accepted.
Yeah, because
I didn't know any better.
Without that being tied down, you need the weight probably of a 3-inch cable.
Yeah,
to be able to walk it and keep it steady. Yeah, because that's always the big thing, like you watch all these guys, even his grandfather was walking between two buildings and he got into a power wobble. The cable started wobbling.
Yeah, exactly.
And it just threw him off like a bucking bronco.
Yeah.
And he fell to his death. So, he definitely wouldn't want that to happen.
No.
So now I heard rumors, it was in the paper a while ago, that Melinda's going to try to do it again. He wants to do it one more time.
I heard something about that. They were talking or something.
Last summer, it came out, I think.
Yeah.
I hope he does it. Man. That was exciting. It was great for Niagara Falls.
What was up with his wife or girlfriend in the helicopter hanging by her teeth?
She's a daredevil.
I was gonna say, is that a denture commercial?
That's a denture cream.
I don't know.
Or you can eat an apple or hang from a helicopter from a strap. This is stuff that like I wouldn't do.
No.
In my whole life, I wouldn't do this crap. I'm not jumping off out of an airplane. I'm not jumping off with a bungee tied to my ass.
The biggest daredevil thing I've ever done, I was the very first paying fare on that Zoom ride down at the falls.
The line, the zip line.
I was the first paying fare on it.
Well,
that was fun.
You should have got an invite to that one raft that went through the rapids that threw everybody in the water.
That was in the 70s, yeah.
Yeah, they're going to have raft rides down through the rapids. And, people think they're not, they look at them, they don't see them, but they're like level 6 rapids or something. They're very, very dangerous.
Well, you talk to Carlisle Graham or Hazlitt and Potts who went through the rapids, they will tell you that the lower rapids below the whirlpool were worse than that.
Than the ones from the whirlpool to Queenston.
Yeah, they were worse, although they didn't look it. But it must have been a big pull-down factor or something in there.
Well, they stop the whirlpool jet boats at the whirlpool. They don't go up the river any farther.
Yeah,
anybody who's tried it has not made it.
Well, they had experimented with it, didn't they? Went on some kind of a new power boat, and they had gone up and down a couple of times, and the St. Lawrence Seaway stepped in. The authorities said,
nope, too dangerous. Anyway, Pat.
Yeah.
With that, we're going to end the show. Thank you so much for coming in. It's always fun to talk about Niagara Falls in the old days.
Okay.
And come up with these great ideas to revitalize downtown. I know people think you're crazy or I'm crazy about saying
this. We're both crazy, but we're from Niagara Falls. We're allowed to be crazy.
Yeah, we've got an excuse. And we're not as crazy as people from Chippewa, though.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Anyway, thank you for listening in. My name is Paul Kalamir. This is Your City, Your Voice with my guest, Pat Sirianni, town crier.
I'll be back.
Student of local history. Oh, you definitely will. We've got more to talk about. And for all you on video, thank you for tuning in today. Go to YouTube to watch the video. It'll be on there later on today. And also give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification so that when the next one comes up, you'll be able to see it. Thanks for tuning in. We will talk to you later. Ciao, ciao, everybody.